Mr. Mayor, gosh, I wish it was under better circumstances, or at least we could just talk about, the primaries instead of what's happening now. But unfortunately, we're in a dire scenario. So a stay-at-home order from you, how reasonable is that for a city like Los Angeles?
Well, thanks for being such a steady voice on this, and thanks for bringing still optimism and directness and forthrightness. It is the absolute critical thing for everyone to be doing as soon as they can. History shows us the lessons of this from 1918 to other pandemics. When it feels wrong, it's the right time to do it. By the time it feels right, it is too late. I did it with a heavy heart. I love my city, but I want my family and my neighbors and everyone I know and that I represent to be protected. And how I tried to frame this is an act of love, and not just one from government. Each one of us have the power to have those same acts of love to protect human lives all around us. So we pulled that trigger yesterday. We made sure, and I talked to the governor, let him know we were going to be doing that, and I'm really pleased that he's done it for the state. I think people who are listening out there where the incidents aren't as bad should listen to what those guests just said. We're seeing snapshots today that are as much as 2 weeks old. And the curve is the same everywhere. There's no protective moat around your city or your state. There's no magical force field. This will come. And the quicker you do the work to make sure that you flatten the curve, the more lives you will save.
I've got a question about the supply chain. There was an Amazon worker that just tested positive, which obviously brings up fears about Amazon delivery packages. Inevitably, there's going to be more in big factories, things among people who are delivering the goods that we need. There's going to be some fear in there. How long and how resilient is our supply chain? How long should people expect to be able to go get groceries at the grocery store or get takeout from their restaurant or packages delivered from something like Amazon?
There's no evidence anywhere in the world, by the way, that grocery stores shut down, that people are going hungry. And here in the United States, I'm extremely confident. You're right, there will be cases of people who come down with COVID-19 who work in the logistics trade. But whether it's the dock workers, our longshoremen who are here at 85% capacity, and I don't mean the people are 85% capacity, that's the amount of stuff coming in, or whether it's the truckers, the warehouse workers, and the clerks. I think the instructive piece is we have to protect them too, just like we would the frontline workers in a hospital. I obtained 5,000 masks for our grocery clerks, for instance, who we saw showing up to work, making sure that we're nourished, being real heroes, but not having the protection they needed. So my advice to all local officials is to share that equipment with people who are in those warehouses, who are on the front lines, giving you that stuff. And we're working with companies to adopt those best practices. So DoorDash and Grubhub and Postmates and all of those folks now have adopted new sanitary practices and things like dropping that food off so that you can pick it up, clean it, make sure, give yourself, the outside parts of that as spray, and then enjoy a good meal.
Respectfully, Mr. Mayor, there's not enough masks for hospital workers, let alone masks for all of the people working in logistics around this country.
Absolutely, but that does not mean that we should let them get sick and we should let stores get closed. We had 5 million masks that came in here, and we are sharing them with our homeless outreach workers and shelter workers. We're sharing them with our grocery clerks. And as they come in, I want to make sure those folks are prioritized as well, not ahead of medical personnel, but as well as medical personnel and first responders.
I'm just wondering at what point, there are other measures. The CDC is telling hospital staff to tie scarves around their faces or use bandanas as masks. We saw in Seattle today that workers are making makeshift face shields for their workers there because they've run out of that. But right now I need to ask you a question about your homeless population. We've talked about this in the past. It has exploded in California. It only stands to get worse if this crisis deepens. What are you doing to make sure that those that are in shelters are being kept at a safe distance from each other so you don't see the spread among people who are not able to shelter in their homes?
Well, I am so concerned. A lot of people have no home to go to. 2 weeks ago, we started planning for this at the beginning of this crisis, and I announced 2 days ago an unprecedented effort. Not only are the shelters that exist, and we're taking CDC guidance on the 35 aspects of what you need to make sure there isn't spread in shelters, But our public safety folks, public health folks, excuse me, have said it is much better to treat and to have before people get COVID-19 who are homeless, to have them indoors. So I've mobilized 1,600 beds this weekend, 6,000 beds by the end of about 2 weeks from now. We've secured all the beds, the blankets, the safe distances, the showers, and when people have any symptoms, they won't go into those shelters. They'll be isolated, taken to motel rooms and isolation units that we have bought and purchased. And then if anybody does exhibit symptoms, they'll be taken out of those places. But this is a place where we can monitor folks, make sure that they have the medical attention that they need, and we have to not forget them. One other group I'd say is immigrants as well. We have many folks who are undocumented. The discussions in Washington, D.C. have completely seemed to have bypassed them while they're picking the food we're eating, driving many of the trucks, cleaning the hospitals, often the grocery clerks. We have to make sure that we're helping them out too. People are people and all lives are equal.
Mayor Eric Garcetti, Mr. Mayor, good luck and Godspeed.
Thank you.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.